Hello everybody and welcome to this new video. I'm Alvise and today I'm going to make one thing clear for everyone using AI agents on WordPress. The difference between three features that sound alike but do very different jobs: context, skills, and memory. And this one came straight from our community. For example, Dave Foy was one of the people asking us to break it down. We'll do this on a site you already know, our own, novamira.ai. And of course it runs Novamira, the free open source plugin that gives AI agents full access to your WordPress site through NCP, plus Novamira Pro. Here's what context, skills, and memory give you. With them in place, you open a new conversation in your AI client and the agent already has the essentials, then surfaces each skill or note exactly when it's needed, so you're never re-explaining. Each one gets you there in a different way, and by the end you'll know exactly which to reach for. Let's briefly tell these three apart. Context is what the agent should know every time, loaded into every conversation. Skills are what it needs only sometimes, pulled in only when the task calls for it. And finally, memory is the context that carries across conversations, things you save or the agent picks up as you work and reuses in the future chats. Three ways to put the right knowledge in front of the agent at the right time. One thing to clear up first: all three live in your WordPress site, not in your AI tool. They travel over NCP, so they're shared across every client and teammate, and they stay even if you switch tools. That's separate from whatever memory or skills your AI app keeps on its own. And now let's set them up. I've got Novamira running on our staging side with Novamira Pro active. So on top of context and skills, which already come with the free version of Novamira, memory is available too. They're connected through Claude Desktop, though it works with any NCP compatible AI client. If you need the install steps, you can find the link to the videos in the description. And now let's go straight to the good part. Let's start with context. Context is the instruction, what the agent should know before it does anything, and it's loaded every single time in every conversation, so it has to stay short. There are two parts. The first is system context, and you don't write any of it. Novamira fills this in for you. And here you can find your WordPress and PHP version, your active theme, every plugin that you've got installed. So the agent already knows what it's working with, including if there's a page builder or not, like here. The second part instead is user context. And this is where you put the instructions for the site. For novamira.ai, for example, I had a few. For example, there's this site, runs custom classic theme, edit layouts in the theme. This instruction is a deliberate choice for this site. Novamira.ai runs a hand-built classic theme, so all the layout work lives in the theme itself. And a style built with a page builder or with a block editor would need a different rule here. The point is that you tell the agent how your site is actually put together. Then we have the other two instructions. The second one is brand voice, technical, direct, factual, no superlatives and no marketing hype. And finally, when writing copy, always say for development and staging environments with backups, always. From now on, every conversation starts with those rules already in place. So, for example, I can go to Claude and ask, add a 3-item feature section to the Pro page, and Claude will follow the rule without being reminded. Now, context is for two kinds of things. The obvious one is anything the agent should always know, so rules and facts true for the whole site. But here's the part people miss. Context is also the right home for tiny bits of info the agent only needs once in a while. Even if it comes up rarely, it's still just one line, so small that keeping it loaded all the time costs you basically nothing. So it can ride along in context, even when it's only occasionally useful. Anything bigger that's needed only sometimes for example, a guide, a set of conventions, then it is a skill. The one thing that to watch is the total size, basically. So this page ships with every conversation, so keep it tight. Short rules, short facts, and never long procedures. One honest note before we move on. These rules are what works well today. How much you put in context and how you phrase it depends on the model you're using and how big its context window is. So don't treat this as a fixed law. Other approaches can work just as well. Context was the always-on layer. Skills are the opposite. Knowledge that's relevant depending on the task and not on every request. The obvious case is a procedure. The full step-by-step for, say, publishing one of our release posts. You'd never want that loaded into every conversation, but it's broader than procedures. Any reference the agent needs only in certain situations belongs here. For example, a guide, a set of conventions, a naming policy. You might not call a naming policy a skill out loud, but functionally it's the same thing. A reference the agent pulls in on demand. The skill system is part of Novamira, so you can write your own. Let me make a new one for Novamira right now, for example. I'll ask to the AI, create a skill for how we publish a video to the video section. Take a YouTube URL, create the video entry, set the title and thumbnail. And the agent will now load the Novamira's built-in skill creator to create the new skill. And here we have our new add video skill in the skill catalog alongside the others. So now let's actually use it. So we go back to Claude and we say, add this YouTube video to the video section. There's the whole loop. I described a recurring task once, the agent turned it into a skill, and now it follows it every time, our way, without me re-explaining. A skill doesn't lock the agent into one fixed result. It ends it in a reliable reference to follow. And if you'd rather not write everything yourself, that's what Novamira Pro is for. It ships more than 24 expert skills out of the box for every major builder like Elementor, Bricks, Divi, Breakdance, and Edge. And for popular plugins like WooCommerce, ACF, Jet Engine, and the big SEO plugins. And it's not just skills. Pro also adds purpose-built abilities, the concrete operations your agent can actually run on the site. So it doesn't just know how to do the work, but it has the tools to do it. So we've got context for your standing rules and skills for the task-specific stuff. The third one is memory, and the simplest way to put it is the way it's described on our site. Tell your AI once, and it keeps it between sessions, so you stop repeating yourself. But that's only half of the story. Even when you don't tell it anything, the agent can still decide on its own what's worth keeping and write it down. Basically, there are different ways to work with memory, and which one fits you depends on your setup and the AI client you use. One way is by writing it yourself. You open the memory section and add your rules and conventions by hand, and you update them as you discover things. And this is the most reliable way because nothing is left to chance. Another approach is you and the agent sharing the job. You see the important rules yourself and the agent adds to memory as it works, noting things worth keeping for the next time. And finally, you can leave it entirely to the AI. You don't touch this page at all. The agent decides what to remember, writes it down itself, and maintains it over time. When the model is good at it, it works well. It quietly builds up a picture of who you are and how you work with no effort from you. One warning on this path. How proactively an agent writes to memory depends heavily on the AI client and the model. Some do it diligently, some barely at all. So treat the fully autonomous route as something to test with your setup. And if it doesn't fill memory on its own, you always have the first two ways. However it gets filled, every entry has a type. There are 4, and they tell the agent what kind of knowledge it's looking at. First, there's user, so who you are, so your role, background, or preferences. Then there's feedback, and this is how you like to work, so a rule with the why behind it. Then we have project, so what you're building, and finally reference, where things live like external systems or URLs. One last thing, and it's where memory really differs from the context. Context is loaded in full into every single conversation, so it has to stay small. Memory is different. Only a one-line index of each entry is always loaded, and the full content gets pulled in only when it's relevant to what you're doing. And here's the payoff. No matter which workflow you choose, for example, now I'll ask Claude, connect to Novamira and add a new hero heading to the homepage that says, connect your AI client to WordPress and let it work directly. Read files, query the database, run PHP. And let's see what happens. As you could see in this fresh conversation, I never told the agent which font to use. It didn't ask, and it pulled up what we decided earlier and styled a new hero to match without a word of reminding from me. That's the whole point of memory. It persists between conversations. The agent doesn't reset to 0 every time you open a new chat. So here's the one question that decides where anything goes. Don't ask whether it's a procedure or a fact. Ask instead, does the agent need this always, only sometimes, or should it persist across conversations? Always goes to context. For us, the brand voice and the edit the themes PHP templates, no page builder rule. Sometimes goes to skills. That's procedures and conventions and guides, like how to publish a release post or how to add an integration page. Anything relevant conditionally rather than every time. And anything you want to survive between conversations goes to memory, whether you type it in yourself or let the agent build it up as you work. And here's why there are 3 features and not 1. An AI agent can only take in so much at once. You can't put everything in front of it. So the real skill is deciding what it should see every time, what it should see only when a task needs it, and what should carry across sessions. That's exactly context, skills, and memory, and it's how you can keep dozens of skills and a long memory on hand without overloading the agent. And that's the difference between context, skills, and memory. These aren't competing features. There are 3 ways to put the right knowledge in front of your AI agent at the right time. Together, they mean the agent working on your WordPress site stops starting from scratch. It knows your site, it follows your conventions, and it remembers how you like to work. Context and the skill systems come with Novamira, the free plugin, while memory is in Novamira Pro. And that's it for today. I hope this video cleared things up a bit. You can find the link to the documentation in the description, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See ya!